Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I like to kick off the week, as my week starts on a Sunday, with a look at some of the things to watch out for this week in Parliament. This isn't something I'll be making a habit of, but I think this week is going to kickstart a lot of fast-moving politics with the Boris Johnson investigation, Liz Truss clown show, economic turbulence to come. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So earlier this summer, as I was looking ahead, I said that September would be setting the scene, but mid-October would be when things started to happen. This was because when Parliament came back, it was only going to come back for a short period of time, and then we'd have the party conference recess. So it was mid-October when things were going to heat up. I didn't know the Queen was going to die, or that Liz Truss would launch her government with quite such a stunning display of bad politics with her mini-budget. I knew she'd fall flat on her face. I didn't realise she was going to throw herself to the ground face first with quite so much speed. So September turned out to be rather more dramatic than I expected. But the real fireworks are still set to come this October. This coming week is when it starts. And the reason for this is that politics largely revolves around Parliament. You know, this is where MPs meet. This is where they can discuss things. This is where little groups can strategise. Parliament was in recess for 6 weeks over summer. It returned for just a few days before news of the Queen's death filtered through, and then that was it for parliamentary business again. They did come back to hear Kwasi Kwarteng reading out the Tory party's suicide note in the form of the uncosted mini-budget, but until now, all we've really had is basically 3 days of Parliament in the past few months. On Tuesday, MPs are back at Westminster, the pressure cooker of UK politics. If you think things have moved quickly over the past few weeks, and undeniably they have, you ain't seen nothing yet. So what to watch out for? Well, first of all, shall we remind ourselves that Boris Johnson is still facing a serious investigation into whether or not he deliberately misled Parliament, either by lying at the dispatch box or failing to correct the record in a timely manner when he realised he'd inadvertently misled the House. People are asking, what's going on with that then? It's still going on. It's just that Parliament hasn't been in session. You know, they're having a private meeting this Wednesday morning, the committee, and they are likely to begin interviewing people fairly soon after that, now that Parliament is back again. The likes of the Daily Mail have tried very hard to derail the process, and Boris Johnson used a lot of public money to fund a lawyer to try and do the same at his end. However, unless Parliament votes to stop the proceedings, those proceedings will continue. And despite what the Daily Mail try and persuade their readers, MPs, even Tory MPs, know that the investigation will be all above board. It's worth noting that Liz Truss, during her leadership contest this summer, said that she would vote to halt the investigation. Well, she's now Prime Minister, but she seems to have gone very quiet on that idea. I strongly suspect that she would not attempt to put a vote to Parliament, and I'm almost certain she'd lose if she tried. Besides, as Johnson is clearly trying to screw her over by trying to trigger a load of by-elections with his resignation honours list, I doubt she feels the need to put herself out for him. So we may see more on this investigation being reported this week. On Tuesday, normal parliamentary business kicks off with some Treasury questions. Now, any questions for the Treasury are going to be quite loaded at the moment. The questions have already been published in advance. Most of them I can see the government easily sidestepping them. But the ones that I think are likely to prove a bit tricky for the government include, there's a question on the rising mortgage rates, why they won't publish the economic forecast, what the impact of the budget will be on the NHS and schools, and what promises they can make about levelling up in the north of England. I think those would be the ones that, if any are going to, could trip up the government there. The Chancellor's also repealing the health and social care levy. Now, this is one of their tax cuts. It was a tax that was supposed to boost funding for health and social care provision. Being honest, none of the money was going to either social care or the NHS anyway, but that was what it was supposed to be for. So questions will be asked about where the funding's now going to come from, given that it's badly needed this winter. The government can hardly say, actually, we're not actually going to spend any money on social care or healthcare even though the systems are both knackered right now. So that'll be interesting. There'll also be a Treasury committee meeting on Wednesday, a cross-party meeting, which will question various economists about their views on the mini budget. Get ready for the government to dismiss them as the anti-growth coalition quite soon. There's the second reading of the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill in the House of Lords on Tuesday. David Frost will be opening his gob during those proceedings, so there may be something worth commentating on there. There's a debate on sewage discharge on Wednesday. No, that's not a euphemism for PMQs with Liz Truss, but that's going on as well, of course. Should be very spicy. But people will be thinking, oh, what's Starmer going to ask? What Blackford going to ask? You know, I've said before, what I'm most interested in this week are what Conservative MPs are going to be asking. Piece of cake this week's PMQ. The most difficult thing for either Ian Blackford or Keir Starmer to deal with this week will be wondering what exactly and what angle they go with. There's so many to choose from. Now, I want to know what Conservative MPs are going to be asking. On balance, there will be those who are trying to support Truss. There will be the rebels. But what's the balance? On balance, will they be seeking to put on a show of unity or put her on the spot? And this is just a smattering of the most interesting formal business plan. This is what you've got in the calendar. Debates in the House, in public. In between it all, there'll be some politicking behind the scenes as the various factions of the Conservative Party hold their own private meetings for the first time in a few months. Lots to talk about. And you would imagine that the latest polls will instill in them a little bit of a sense of urgency to act. Not in getting rid of Liz Truss just yet. I don't imagine they're looking at that. But in doing something to persuade her to change direction or at least slow down. So that's what we've got coming this week. I strongly suspect this week's videos will be largely centred around these events. Obviously, there could be unexpected events cropping up as well. But yeah, I am expecting a very spicy period of politics coming up. And I think it will properly start this week. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.